Hey guys, good morning. It is so strange teaching the lesson and nobody is sitting in front of me. Well, at least I don't have to worry about anyone answering me back or if I say any questions and someone's saying, let's go to the bathroom. Okay, so here's our first lesson. Today's first lesson is solving trigonometric equations. Okay, so we're moving on. This is going to be 5-3 in your textbook. So, can you solve this equation? Oh, happy St. Patty's Day. 2x minus 1 equals 0. No, this is not a joke. Okay, so how would we solve this? We're going to add 1 to both sides. Divide by 2. X is 1/2. Okay, I'm pretty sure there's no one out there who cannot solve this equation. If you can solve this equation, you're going to be able to do the trigonometric. I'm just going to take this equation and add something to it. 2 cosine theta minus 1 equals 0. So all I did was add the trig function cosine to it. All right, we're going to add 1 to both sides. 2 cosine theta equals 1. Divide both sides by 2. Cosine theta equals 1/2. Okay, what we are doing here is we are solving for theta. So we want to know what angle has a cosine of 1/2. Okay, this goes back to the inverse functions. This goes back to you knowing your unit circle. So for right now, for the lesson, if you want, take out your index cards, take out your unit circle. Okay, cosine of 1/2. Well, it's positive, so I know I'm going to look for the angle in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 2. In quadrant 1, the angle that has a cosine of 1/2 is going to be, I was waiting for someone to answer, pi over 3. And in quadrant 4, the angle that has that is going to be 5 pi over 3. That's it. It is that easy. Okay, so we're solving equations and we are looking for the angle. The part that's going to mess you up is if you don't know your unit circle and if you don't know what your angles are. So, if you look in your textbook, okay, if you think about it, on a unit circle, all right, we can have a cosine of 1/2 at pi over 3, and then we can go around again, and we can go around again, and we can go around again. So what your book is going to tell you, if you decide to look this up, if you look at videos, it's going to say your answer is pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. What this means here is if you kept going around the circle, because don't forget we have coterminal angles. We can keep going around the circle and going around the circle and going around the circle. We're going to eliminate that. What we are going to do for our problems is we are going to have a domain of 0 and 2 pi. In fact, I'm going to switch this. I'm going to take this off here and put this, oh, no, I'm going to do the other way. I was right the first time. Which means I'm going to include my 0 degree angle, but not my 2 pi angle. Okay, so it's going to go from 0 to 2 pi. So if it's at 0, we're not going to write it as 2 pi. We're going to write it as 0. Okay, so let's see how this is going to work and start solving some of these problems. I'm going to work out a few of them with you, then I'm going to ask that you pause the video and try them on your own. So, something like this. Well, first of all, let me give you the directions so you know. And this is going to be the directions on your homework assignment later. Find all values of theta in the interval of 0 and 2 pi. Okay, so this is what the directions are going to say. So if you see any work that, adds on and it keeps going around, don't worry about it. We're just going to round the unit circle once. Let me get my unit circle out of the way. Again, you might want to keep that handy right now. You might want to keep your index card handy right now. So number 1, cosine of theta equals 3 cosine theta plus 1. okay, and I want to solve this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my cosine on one side and my numbers on the other, just like if it was a variable. If this was x and 3x, I would bring 3x here. So I'm going to subtract 3 cosine theta, subtract 3 cosine theta. It's just a basic linear question with, instead of it saying x, it says cosine. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Cosine theta equals 1. Again, I'm trying to solve for cosine theta, like I'm solving for x. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Cosine of theta is equal to negative 1/2. Okay, so now I go to my unit circle and I say I'm looking for cosine that's negative. So my answer will not be in quadrant 1, it will not be in quadrant 2. So what angle has a cosine of 1/2? Well, that, if you go to the unit circle, it is pi over 3. However, it's in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3, so that's going to be, pi over 3, so this is 3 over 3. So 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. And those are the two angles that has a cosine of negative 1/2. And if you substitute those values into the original, it would make sense. Questions? Of course not, because you're not here to ask them. Okay, I want to show you something else. All right. Let's say I had 3 sine theta minus 5 equals 4. Again, you're solving this as if this is what's going on in your thought cloud. 3x minus 5 equals 4. Just like you would solve this equation, you're solving this. I'll add 5 to both sides. 3 sine theta equals 9. Divide both sides by 3. 3 sine theta equals 3. What do we know about the sine? Sine can never be greater than 1. It does not exist. Okay, so you will have situations, okay, where it won't exist. However, if I wrote this, 3 tan theta minus 5 equals 4, and I solve this one, I'd end up to be the tan theta equals 3. This one does exist. However, it's not on your unit circle. You would actually have to use the calculator to find it. You would hit tan inverse theta of 3, and it would tell you what angle that would be. All right, but I just want you to know the difference. Sine and cosine can only be up to 1. Tangent can be greater than 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to do some problems. What I'd like you to do at this point is, once I put the problem on the board, pause the video, you try it, and then keep playing the video and see if you were able to do it. So, here's example number 1. 4 parentheses cosine theta plus 1 equals 0. Pause the video right now and see if you can do this. Basically, if it makes it easier for you, what you can do is rewrite it without the trig value. For x plus 1 equals 0. Solve this, and then when you get down to x equals, replace x equals with cosine of theta, if that helps you. Okay, so hopefully you paused and you came back and you were able to solve this by distributing. For cosine theta equals negative 4. Cosine theta equals negative 1. So who has a cosine of negative 1? Well, there's definitely a quadrantal. It's an x value, so it's going to be here, because this is, remember, negative 1, 0. If not, you could refer to your unit circle. Theta is just pi. Okay, sometimes you have 2 answers, sometimes you have 1 answer. Tomorrow's lesson, you're going to have like 4 answers. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. Okay, here's another one. Okay, so you see you have cosine on both sides. Okay, remember, we're going to get variables on one side, numbers on the other. Again, if you need to rewrite this, 3x minus radical 3 equals x. If that makes it easier for you to see and solve, and then replace it, that's fine. Pause the video now, and then come back. So I am going to, I'll bring this here, so minus 3 cosine theta. And again, guys, these are literally solving equations. Okay, divide that. So cosine of x is equal to negative divided by negative is a positive. Radical 3 over 2. Again, we have a positive cosine. We're here and here. Okay, and if you want, you could look at your unit circle. Cosine radical 3 over 2 is pi over 6. And then over here, it would be 5. No, I'm sorry, 11. Ugh, I hate 11. 11 pi over 6. Okay? All right, let's move on, do a few more exercises. And then you could go and try your homework. If you have any questions, you could reach out to me via Remind or through Teams, whatever you feel more comfortable with. All right, let's try this one. Oh, you know what? I want to show you this one. 4 sine squared x plus 1 equals 4. Okay, notice how we have a second degree. Now, tomorrow, second degree is going to be something else, but what we can do right here is we can still solve this as if it was 4x squared plus 1 equals 4. We can bring the 1 over. We could divide both sides by 4. And to get rid of something square, of course, we're going to square root. Remember, whenever you use square root, it's got to be plus or minus. Now, when we square root this, 3 is not a perfect square, so he stays under the radical, but 4 is, so this becomes 2. Okay, so now look, we have sine x is plus and minus. So we're looking for positive and we're negative. We are looking in all of our quadrants for the answer. So again, if you look at your unit circle, the sign that has radical 3 over 2 is going to be pi over 3. So x, I used x instead of theta because you know after a while I can't keep saying theta. So sine is pi over 3 in quadrant 1, 2 pi over 3 in quadrant 2, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. Okay, because it's plus and minus, we had positive here and here, negative here and here, so everybody's coming to that party. Okay? All right. So, let's see if you can try this one on your own. And this one on your own. Okay, so pause the video here and try these two while I work them out. Negative here and here, so it's pi over 4, so it is 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. And cotangent. Square root. So it's the cotangent of x is equal to plus or minus 1. Remember, we have to flip this, which is tangent of plus or minus. Flip over 1, you get 1. So x, and we have positive and negative, so we are in all the quadrants. So it's pi over 4. It is 3 pi over 4. It is 5 pi over 4. And it is 7 pi over 4. Notice how when I'm giving you the answers, I'm giving it to you in radians. I expect you guys to give it to me in radians also. I think that is it for these examples, okay? This is a nice representation of what your homework problems are. So go through the homework, take notes. Again, maybe you want to watch it first, and maybe you want to try the problems, whatever rocks your socks. Go and do the homework, do it on another piece of paper. Make sure I see all this work. Do not just hand me in this. This will not get you credit. And send it back to me and I'll check it. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.